Lewis Hamilton showed at the Silverstone Grand Prix that Mercedes are well on their way to making a successful comeback this season. The team have really struggled this season with their performance. The new car regulations have brought back ground effect flaws, and Mercedes just haven't managed to make them work up until now. Mercedes obviously did something to the car for Silverstone, as they look capable of winning a race for the first time this season. Today, we're going to let you know what they've done, how it helped, and what it could mean for the rest of their season. George Russell had an unfortunate start to the Silverstone Grand Prix. He had performed poorly in qualifying, only starting the race in 8th on the grid. He was then involved in the crash that saw Zhou Guanyu flip upside down and get catapulted over the tyre wall at turn 1. George claimed he could have gotten back to the pits on his own after he jumped out of the car to go and help Zhou Guanyu, but before he could try and start his W13, it was already on the back of a truck and he had to retire. This left Lewis Hamilton to try and make the most of the weekend for Mercedes. The 7-time world champion endured a series of challenges as he battled for a podium place behind Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez on his home track. After improving to 3rd at the start, Hamilton was relegated back to 5th following a red flag, and dropped behind Lando Norris at the restart, which hampered his hopes of challenging the Ferraris in front. He drove impressively in his first stint though, and took the lead of the race on lap 26 after both Ferraris had pitted. A slow pit stop on lap 34 then saw him fail to undercut Sainz and Charles Leclerc. He would stay behind the two Ferrari cars until a late retirement by Esteban Ocon brought out a safety car, which allowed him to close the gap to the Scuderia drivers. A dramatic battle followed the restart, which briefly saw him in 2nd before dropping to 4th behind Perez and the Ferraris, and eventually battling past Leclerc into 3rd. Hamilton told Sky Sports F1 that victory at Silverstone was realistic before the safety car saw Sainz dominate the final laps. For a while, the race win was feeling on, and then a bunch of things went against us a little bit. But Hamilton refused to say that Mercedes' problems are over, admitting, "I'd like to think we're on the turning point. We are still on the bend. It was a big improvement from the car, but we've still got work to do. A big thank you to the team for all the upgrades this weekend, but we need more, naturally. We have to keep pushing, we have to stay positive, and it's great to be back in the fight." This is a real attitude change from Hamilton, who just a few races ago was calling the W13 the worst car he'd ever driven. So what has changed in the W13 since then that has given him the confidence to think he can fight for race wins? Well, Mercedes brought a whole suite of upgrades to Silverstone, which made a massive difference on race day. Technical Director Mike Elliott alluded to these upgrades after the dust settled in Montreal, and what has been brought in at Mercedes went some way to pushing the car forward as Elliott intended. Even in Montreal, the Silver Arrows managed to finish in 3rd and 4th place, but a large part of that was thanks to Red Bull and Ferrari having problems. Silverstone was the first time they looked competitive with Ferrari on lap time. Over the weekend, Andrew Chauvelin was asked about the upgrades Mercedes had made. "It does look like we've made a step forward, because we're not normally up near the top on a Friday," he told Sky F1. Now, I suspect there'll be a bit more to come from Ferrari and a bit more to come from Red Bull, but the long run work was quite encouraging as well. And again, those were overlaid quite nicely. A large part of the improvement in the lap time of the Mercedes W13 comes from some aero updates they made to the floor. Compared to the old floor, the outlet ducts are wider. They also changed the angle of the floor where the outlet ducts are, which altered how the air flows when it leaves the floor in that area. The new skirt gives more energy to the air leaving the floor. The vortices along the floor edge are stronger thanks to the higher energy air, meaning the underfloor is better protected from air coming in or going out. The change also raises the edge of the car slightly, which should protect it from bouncing while not compromising the ground effect. The integration of a metallic longitudinal bar and a new tie rod stiffens the floor, reducing the sensitivity to high-speed bends where Mercedes have been porpoising this season. This is due to the flexion in the floor that has been a problem due to the zero-pod concept. The undercar is now able to work with stable flow conditions, and the Venturi tunnels are less disturbed by external aero interference. The combination of the updated floor and the new rear wing they fitted in Montreal has reduced the porpoising, stabilizing the downforce load in the high-speed corners. There was more than just a new floor fitted to the Mercedes in Silverstone though. Mercedes also redeveloped elements of their front suspension, which saw an updated top wishbone and pushrod changes. These changes were designed to try and improve the quality of the air going under the floor and over the car. If you have turbulent air going under the car, it has a huge knock-on effect on the whole aero package. The ground effect floor creates an inconsistent amount of downforce due to variations in the airflow. The diffuser suffers from the same problem, and then the rear wing as well. By making the changes they did to the front suspension and cleaning up the airflow at the front of the car, they've improved the effectiveness of the aero package for the whole car. The combination of changes obviously worked, as only Carlos Sainz had a better average race pace than Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone. Of course, Max Verstappen was missing 20% of his downforce due to part of Pierre Gasly's wing getting stuck in his floor, and Sergio Perez had to fight through the whole field. It might be that Mercedes are able to compete with Red Bull now as well, but we will have to see a few more races before we can make that claim. What was obvious in Silverstone though was that at the right track, they can definitely compete with Ferrari. So what does the Austrian Grand Prix and the rest of the season look like for Mercedes? Toto Wolff has said that despite an improved showing at Silverstone, it does not give him confidence for the next race in Austria. The Red Bull Ring has not been a happy hunting ground for Mercedes of late. Including the two Styrian Grand Prix raced at the circuit in 2020 and 2021, just 2 of the previous 6 races at the track have been won by a Mercedes driver. Remember as well that during that time, Mercedes were absolutely dominant in the sport. Red Bull, on the other hand, have won the remaining 4 at their home race, with Max Verstappen winning all of them. The circuit has traditionally favoured Red Bull more than Mercedes, and with its lack of high speed and high corner loads that Silverstone enjoys, as well as a long straight, Wolff believes that trend will continue with the W13 this weekend. We were back in the game at Silverstone, but that doesn't mean it will be again in Austria, he told the media. On the soft, the car didn't work well. We saw that the pace wasn't there afterwards either. But if you don't lose the place to Perez and overtake Leclerc quickly with the old tyres, then we might have been able to race for victory. But the start didn't work out, and then it was a chain reaction. It shows how quickly you change expectations. A few weeks ago, we said a 3rd place finish on our own would be great, and today, at Silverstone, we could have taken a win. Therefore, yes, you have to take the positives. While Toto Wolff might not sound that optimistic of the team's chances in Austria, they do apparently have more upgrades coming. According to journalist Michael Schmidt, they aren't sure how they will perform going forward, but they are committed to a development path now. At Mercedes, they're not sure how Spielberg will work out for them. It will be a good circuit to see how good the updates from Silverstone really are. They told me that they will now bring small upgrades every race. All these upgrades will be floor related. Mercedes will take these upgrades all the way to Budapest. That is the big test to see if they have completely fixed the bouncing. If everything works there, Mercedes think they can win races on their own in the second half of the season, the German reporter said. If Mercedes can seriously get themselves into contention for race wins after the summer break, then we could have an incredibly exciting end to the season. It would take an implosion of cataclysmic proportions for Red Bull to throw away the lead they have over Mercedes in the Drivers' or Constructors' Championship, but nothing is impossible. Just having 3 teams battling for podium places would be enough for me, and would make for some incredible race viewing for us fans as well. If you want to know more about what's going on in F1, click the video showing on your screen now.